Hello everybody, my name is Suman Dua and I'm a registered migration agent based in Brisbane, Australia. Today we are going to talk about South Australia's nomination requirements. So far, this has been our most requested video based on the comments that we receive. So as you all know that South Australia's nomination requirements are a bit complex, but I'm going to try and explain you in as simple way as I can. To meet the South Australia's nomination requirements, first you need to meet the requirements that are set by the Department of Home Affairs. The requirements are that you need to be under 45 years of age, you need to have a positive skills assessment in your nominated occupation, which is on the relevant list. You also need to have competent English, and you also need to have a minimum point score of 65 points, including the state points. We will also put the link to one of our other videos where we have explained you about how to claim your points in the right way. We will put the link in the description. South Australia nominates for both visa subclasses, which is subclass 190, which is the state nominated visa, and subclass 491, which is also the state nominated visa, but it is a regional provisional visa. So if they nominate you for 190 visa, South Australia will give you 5 points. And if they nominate you for the 491 visa, the state will give you 15 points. South Australia does have two occupation lists. The first one is called the State Nominated Occupation List, also known as SNOL. And the second one is the Supplementary Skilled List, also known as SSL. The State Nominated Occupation List has got 274 occupations, and the SSL list has got about 223 occupations on their list. We will put the link to the occupation list in the description of our video. Now, before you start looking at the occupation list, you have to first find out if you meet the minimum nomination requirements. So the first minimum requirement is that you need to have at least 65 points, including the state points, but also have a look because some occupations, they do need higher points. So you'll have to actually look at the occupation list to see if your occupation requires more than 65 points. The second minimum requirement is that you need to have 1 year of experience in your nominated occupation in the last 3 years. Then again, you will have to see because some of the occupations, they do require 2 to 5 years of work experience. However, there are some waivers available for the graduates. We will talk about the waivers for the South Australian graduates in a little while. The third requirement is that you have to meet their English requirement. So some occupations, they do need proficient English. So you'll have to check to see if your occupation requires a higher English than normal, then you will have to meet that criteria as well. Now, apart from these things, you will also have to check few more things before you start looking at their occupation list. The first thing that you need to check is your location, especially if you're in Australia. So if you're somebody who is not living in South Australia, but is living in a different state in Australia, you're not eligible for the nomination. Also, for somebody who is not in Australia, but who is offshore, but have lived in another state in Australia in the last 10 years, you are only eligible for the 491 visa. Also, if somebody who has moved from a different state to South Australia, in that case, also you're only eligible for the 491 visa. And if you're somebody who has recently moved to South Australia, then the minimum requirement that you will have to meet is that you need to be working in your skilled occupation in the last 6 months in South Australia. And that 6 months work experience can be 20 hours a week. Now, like I said, they have got two occupation lists, SNOL and SSL. So the SNOL list, which is the main list, is actually available for pretty much all applicants onshore or offshore. But if your occupation is on the SSL list, which is a supplementary skilled list, then this occupation list is restricted to 4 categories. And also, if your occupation is considered as a special category list, which is on the SNOL, but it says special conditions and it's got like a red bar next to it, then also it is restricted to 4 categories. So let's talk about those 4 categories. So the first category of people who can actually apply for this supplementary list and also the special condition list is people who are the international graduates of South Australia. So if you are somebody who has done at least 1 year of study which is related to your nominated occupation in South Australia, then you are considered as the South Australia's graduate. The second category is for applicants who are working in South Australia. So if you're somebody who has worked in South Australia for about 12 months in your nominated occupation, or maybe 6 months in the country region, then you can apply for the special conditions occupation and also the SSL list. Now the third category is chain migration. So if you're somebody who's got your immediate family member living in South Australia from last 24 months, then you can apply for special conditions and SSL list. However, you will only be eligible for the 491 visa. What we'll do is we'll put the definition of the immediate family member and the requirements in the description. Now the fourth category is for people who have got high points. So currently the high points requirement is at least 95 points, including the state points. So if you're somebody who's got really high points like 95 or higher, then you can apply for special conditions and supplementary skilled list as well. Now another thing to note here is that you'll have to check for your occupation if one of these categories is available. So what if you've got an immediate family member but your occupation is not open for chain migration? So in that case you cannot apply. What if you've got high points, 95 points, but your occupation says that not available for high points? Then in that case you cannot apply for that occupation. If you're somebody who is a South Australia's graduate, then you can access waivers. So they've got work experience waivers. They've also got a waiver for English requirement. Also, you need only 65 points to meet their eligibility requirement. And you also don't have to show financial capacity yourself. Your parents can actually show the financial capacity when you're applying for the nomination. Now let's see who can actually access these waivers. So like I said, for the work experience waiver, the graduates can access. So if you are a high performing graduate in South Australia, you can access the work experience waiver. So we will put the definition of a high performing graduate in the description. So all students who are studying in South Australia should aim to be a high performing graduate so that they don't have to provide any work experience in their occupation. Also, if you are somebody who has been living in South Australia for a long time and have been working in their skilled occupation from 3 months or maybe studying from 3 months, can also access these waivers. And somebody who's got a proficient English like South Australian graduate can also access the work experience waiver. And if you're a South Australian graduate who's working for 3 months in a skilled occupation, 20 hours a week, can also access these waivers. Now here please note that some occupations, they do require a minimum of 12 months work experience even though you are a graduate of South Australia. So maybe have a look at the comments next to your occupation and see what the requirement is. If you're a South Australian graduate, you can also access the English requirement waiver. So if you're a high performing graduate, you can access these waivers. If you're a South Australian graduate who has been working for 3 months in the skilled occupation, then also you can access the English requirement waiver. Again, please note that some occupations do require a minimum of 12 months work experience, so take a note of that. So there are some occupations which say provisional 491 visa only, 190 visa option available in limited circumstances. So let's look at under what circumstances you will be eligible for the 190 visa. So the first situation is that you're a high points applicant and you've got 8 years of work experience in your nominated occupation and you also have got superior English. In that case, you will be eligible for 190 visa also. However, you will have to check and see if your occupation is available for high points category or not. If it is not available for high points category, then you're not eligible for 491 or 190, either of those visa subclasses. You can also access these occupations if you have worked in South Australia for 12 months in your nominated occupation, minimum 20 hours a week. You can access this occupation if you're a high performing graduate, and we will be putting a definition of a high performing graduate, so you can check and see if you can apply for this occupation. You can also apply under this category if you are a South Australian graduate and you have been working for 6 months in a skilled occupation, 20 hours a week. If you are somebody who's an international South Australia's graduate who has been living in South Australia from last 5 years and have been working in their skilled occupation from 3 months, can also apply for these occupations. Now you will see that there are some occupations that say provisional 491 visa only. So if your occupation says provisional 491 visa only, it means that that occupation is only available for 491 visa. Doesn't matter what you do, what your situation is and what your location is. Now you will see that there are some occupations that require you to have 75 points or 85 points. So in that situation, you do need 75 points or 85 points for those occupations. But if you're a South Australia's graduate, you only need 65 points. Also, if you're somebody who has been working in South Australia in your nominated occupation from last 12 months, in that case also you only need 65 points, even though your occupation says 75 or 85 points required. Now, some occupations say 85 points required for chain migration. So, of course, you need minimum of 85 points, including the points from the state. But you also have to meet the minimum state requirements before you apply under this category of chain migration. However, again, you will have to see if your occupation is open for chain migration or not. So, if it's not open for chain migration, you cannot apply for that occupation. I hope this information was helpful. If you have any questions regarding South Australia's nomination requirements, please get in touch with us. Thank you for watching Sirus Migration. We make new videos every week relating to Australian migration. If you are interested in this topic, you may want to subscribe to our YouTube channel by clicking on the subscribe button down below. You may also want to click on the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload new videos.